here we have the basic notebook with all the descriptions. So this is we are going to have a brush up of what we had done in machine learning previously, with all the basic pre-processing and understanding the data using visualizations and EDA techniques, and then move on to
Okay.
implementing our Keras modules. So here is a description of the data. So just like the same Titanic data set which we previously worked it, we have 891 entries on train data set and 418 on test data set. And with this in Titanic problem, it's actually is given separately. One data set is given for training and one data set for testing. So here's a small description of what happened in the Titanic crew disaster. And here is the different variables in the data dictionary, like survival, passenger class, gender, age, sibling, spouse count, parent and children count, and so on. And here is notes like description of the categorical variables, like upper in regards to the passenger class, you have upper, middle, and lower, and so on. So we'll get into the basics. This one is the information regarding the data frames. So df.describe gives you the data description, which is what we are doing here. And head the first 5 elements of the data set. And then we are analyzing the 5 names here. And then from these names, right, you can see this title, which is highlighted here, Mr., Mrs., Miss, and so on. These are all titles by which each person is addressed. We will extract the title from the name. So we'll just extract the title and plot the counts of the title using a graph. So we have a good number of titles from Mr. to Miss to Don to Reverend to Miss, Major, Lady, Sir, Countess, Captain, Colonel, and so on. So moving, describe a new, it will apply the same upon the test data set also, because here we had applied this on the train data set. Apply the same across the test data set. So here is a dictionary. So what we are going to do now is, since there is a good number of titles, right, from this title name count chart, we will merge the similar titles into similar categories. For example, from the titles Captain, Colonel, Major, Doctor, and Reverend, we'll assign them the officer group. Similarly, for Jonquier, Don, Sir, the Countess, Donna, and Lady, we will assign them royalty. And here, for these smaller titles like Mr., Miss, and Master, we'll give Miss, Mrs., Mr., and Master as a changes in the name. And what we'll do is we'll apply df.map upon this dictionary, which means it will transform all the given titles under this dictionary to the corresponding transformations, which are here. Like this, and it's done. So now that we have transformed the titles and given a good description for them, let us see the chances to survive based on titles. So we just give a nice plot to see that. So here we have the probability to survive based on titles. For Master, it's 0.57, Miss 0.7, and Mrs 0.79, and Officer 0.27. So, and here is the description in a chart, whether the person survived or not. This does seem to give a good description of the survival rate. For example, we have the Mr. category. So if you can recollect what has happened in the movie, it was shown in the movie that men were given a second preference in the rescue time compared to women, and miss were given more priority. And officers were responsible for helping the passengers escape through lifeboats. Even there, such of survival is pretty low here. So this one pretty much correlates to what has happened in the real scenario. So now we'll just go to this and define a few lists, booleans of age, high, 0, died, in which age is greater than 0 and survived. Survived or not is 0. That means they have died. And age here is greater than 0. It means not a baby and has survived. And do a similar plot for the same. So this is the distribution density of the age, whether they have survived or not. So we split them into 24 different bins. and give them two color. For survived, it's color green, and for died, it's color uh, red. And for the other one, insect, yes, yeah. So, and we give it the plots. Age as the this one x-axis and y-axis distribution died and survived. So this chart is done, and let's move on with the other EDA. So here we're getting the medians basis the age group. So yeah, I'll just keep executing this. You can have a refresher regarding EDA later. So now we'll just look at the uh, number of null values in the age, which is df of column dot is null dot sum. Okay, let's execute this, and we have
Yeah.
0 non values in the age. And then we just look at the plot of age versus distribution and density. So number of people given age. So we'll just move on. And survival rate basis age, we have it here. People who didn't survive and people who survived. And then let's categorize them giving age categories. Basically, we give it 0 for student, 1 for adult, 2 for young, 3 for young, and 4 for young. Basically, it's like a different type of children we have, like babies, children, teenage, and so on. And similarly, let us categorize them to babies, children, teenage, and reflect upon these changes using pandas cut. So moving on, we will put in a plot for the same. Execute. This is taking time to execute. Yeah, but you can have a look at this: babies, children, teen, student, young, adult, and senior. So, and this is the age distribution, and whether that they have survived or not. In this, we can see clearly as the person ages further, his survival rate lowers in the Titanic disaster. And here is a fair distribution, like how much each category of person has paid and how many have survived. So here, the more higher it is, the more money that they have paid. You just analyze the passenger class. It's taking time. So this is the crosstalk between the passenger class and the age category. So we'll just do the basic plots and then go on. Because the neural network part is going to take a good amount of time. Yes, and this is the fair distribution that survived, and we'll keep going. So we'll just split into quantiles and plot it here. So quantiles are nothing but no inference, quartile 1. Then these are the intervals, which is the fares that have been paid, like how much money they have paid. Moving on, we have the fare category. Same thing, we'll split into quartiles, and we'll delete a few unnecessary columns like these. Moving on, let's see the head, how it looks like. So these are the features that we have generated. This is the passenger ID, has survived or not, passenger class, gender, sibling spouse count, parent or children count, embarked from where, from which city, S, C, and all denote which city the passenger has embarked from, title, Mr., Mrs., Miss, officer, age category, and fare category. All of this we have generated here as our own features. Now let's move on to putting a couple of more plots, whether the person has survived or not by counts. And similarly, let's do by gender distribution. So comparatively more women survived the Titanic disaster as compared to men. So this is exactly in accordance with what has happened in reality. I just build a crosstalk for the same and analyze it. This is from where they embarked. So people who embarked from S city have more passengers in the third class than, but I think this is the major city in relation, looking at the counts. So, and the ones who are embarked from Q, almost everyone are from the third class. Only from C, we have a good number of, a good proportion of people who have embarked in the first class. That's one nice inference you can derive from this plot. Similarly, let's get into the uh, distribution of survived or not basis from where they've embarked. So more people in proportion in the ratio from the cities C have survived, and unfortunately from SNQ in ratio and proportion more people have passed away. Then class distribution may survive or not. So as it is evident, more people from the first class survived than the people in second class and third class. So this is sibling spouse count. Probability of survival basis the number of siblings and spouses. And survival probability, let's plot for the same for parent and children count. Just define all these variables. And moving on, let's delete a few the columns like sibling, spouse, PRH, and all for the training and testing data. So this is how our resultant data frame will look like. So we have passenger ID, survived or not, class, gender, embarked from where, title, age category, fare category, and F size. So this may be a good start for our model. So let us just get into the model building now that we have done the EDA and feature engineering, right? Since these topics are already covered previously, that's why I went a bit fast. So we'll use this function to encode all our categorical variables happening as of now. Okay. So this is the correlation plot between the different variables. So it is from -0.6 to 0.9 and to 1, which is around here. So we have all the values also printed there. So the problem of multicollinearity can be resolved easily. So we have Mr. and gender. We have a pretty high correlation, only high one in which it's 0.87. Apart from this, there is no one with more than 0.9. So I think this data set is good to go for training. So let us analyze the shape of the data, which we have already described in the top. It is 891 columns, rows and 22 columns. Now let us define our training and targets. Okay, dependent and independent variables. We have defined it, and let us scale our data. One thing is that when you are playing with TensorFlow or Keras, right, you get a lot of warnings in your system, which doesn't make your notebook nor your terminal look good. Which is why make it a practice to include this kind of code whenever you're playing it on with neural networks or deep learning. We will be importing the sequential layer, which means one by one the neural networks goes forward, and we import the dense layer, which is nothing but the fully connected layer, activation layer denoting the activation functions that lie under it, and dropout layer. Dropout is nothing but a layer that is added, a function that is added in between to avoid overfitting. And we'll be using the stochastic gradient descent optimizer. So we'll just do all the imports as of now. And here we have the description of the neural network. So since we have already proceeded pretty ahead in neural networks and even reached the level of CNN, I will leave this up to you to go through. So now we are getting to the model building. So we have been through this exercise many times. So this is not initialization. Basically, you call it, you're defining that the model is a sequential model. Inputs are 22 in number. 22 independent 20 independent variables. If you can visualize a neural network, so here we have 22 inputs coming in, right? So this is the first layer, 18, and 22 inputs are coming in, right? So which is why we have mentioned input dimension as 22, and there are 18 layers in the first layer, and subsequently we will be adding a dropout layer. Why are we adding a dropout layer is because of the main reason that neural networks tend to overfit upon the data, right? Hence, we will be applying a dropout layer to take care of this problem. Following which, we will be adding a hidden layer. So hidden layer in this thing, we have 60 neurons and the activation function of ReLU. Since one more point to be noted is that we have less data in this problem. That is 861 rows for training. Hence, we will be adding as many dropout layers as possible just to ensure that the model does not overfit. Okay. And finally, we'll be adding a sigmoid activation function in the last layer with a single neuron. What this does is it gives you an output of 0, 1, which says the person has survived or not. So it is just, you can say, sigmoid activation function implements the logistic regression with what we had seen back in in the machine learning modules. So we will just define this model, and this is your final model. So this is the final model that we have built. So keep in mind that I deliberately didn't add as many layers as possible to make it like a complex neural network, or you can say a deep neural network. This is done because the number of input data which is for training is quite less, which is 891 rows. So if we had taken if had we taken the deep neural network approach, this would have resulted in an overfit model. But if you have data in terms of millions, right, like 10 million data, I mean 10 million records, in that case, we could have built a beautiful deep neural net that will perform excellently upon the data. We'll be defining a stochastic gradient descent optimizer is something that optimizes the model. So this is the loss function binary cross entropy. We have chosen binary cross entropy for the reason that the output is in a binary form. That means two variables are coming in the output. 0 denotes not survived and 1 denotes survived. Hence, we have chosen the loss function of binary cross entropy, and the metric by which the model is trained. That means the model weights are adjusted, weights and biases is accuracy. So we will now fit the model. Yes. Can you go through this and tell me what is happening in each step?
Accuracy is the same.
But some changes happen. I'll just scroll down slowly. Now,
Now it's increasing.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's getting better.
I think somewhere around here it has been the highest, right? And then it drops again. So this is my model. So we have only trained it for 30 epochs. Hence, the model has run for 30 epochs, if you can see here. And though we may have a problem of overfitting here, the model has overcome that problem by itself and pushed itself ahead to get an accuracy of 79.69, which is pretty good. And you can compare it with the accuracy of a machine learning model. It's higher than that. This is our implementation of Keras neural network to solve the Titanic data problem. So we will now go for the model validation. So we'll just set up a submission file and do the predictions into it. And now we'll see the score. So how we get the evaluation is that we'll do model.evaluate xtrain, ytrain. This is for the training score. How well the training accuracy is. So it's 71% training accuracy. So now let's get the model history. So previously we didn't get the model history, if you can see, right? So benefit of getting the model history is that you can easily visualize what has happened in the training time in regards to the accuracy and loss in terms of charts. So now let us get into that and see how it looks like. Let's repeat the operation for 180 epochs, if you can see here, and do train test split of 80-20%, if you can see here. So as we speak, the model is training. So I will leave it as it is and walk you through what is happening next. So here we'll be plotting the accuracy according to the epochs. As to which epoch, okay, it's done. So we just firstly plot the model accuracy. So the one in blue is a training accuracy, and the one in orange is testing accuracy. So can you get any good observation as to what is happening here? So what has happened in this region, right, is that the model has overfit in this area. Whereas in this area, you can see that at this point, right, training accuracy is here and testing accuracy is here. In which case you can say that at around 60 to 70 epochs, the model is actually performing well. You can consider this range, the model built in this iteration, as your final model for the evaluation and further steps. So here, taking the model that has been generated in this iteration will be of no use because this model has been overfit. If it is clearly evident from the chart, we'll be taking this model for the further evaluation. So similarly, let us do the summarization for loss and how it looks like. So loss in its best sense it has to be kept as low as possible. So lower loss, higher accuracy always gives you an excellent model. So same exercise. The one in blue is training loss and one in orange is testing loss. So what we
Yes.
can say is somewhere around here, you have the testing loss, training loss low and testing loss also correspondingly low. It's up to you to choose which metric to determine the model that you will be using for your further steps as a data scientist. So we'll just get the predictions out, and here it is. Just import accuracy and do Vipred is going to this is Vipred. So this is when you have the Y prediction. Basically, you have to submit the model results, and they will evaluate it upon their other sets and determine if it's correct or not. So as of now, we have the training data. Well, how we got this result is that we have done the split of 80-20, if you can see here. So you've done validation split of 80-20 upon the training data itself and then build this model. So unfortunately, since it is a competition data set, we do not have the expected labels for accuracy. So we cannot actually plot the testing validation accuracy. But while analyzing these charts, you get a good idea as to how to select the appropriate model for your further steps. Okay, one more reason is that I didn't touch backpropagation is that here we are not building, we are building one with Keras. So there is a reason why you have been provided a wrapper like Keras. What happens is backprop, forward prop always happens in a neural network. In the previous examples, I wanted you to understand how backprop and forward prop happens. Hence, we had built neural networks from scratch using NumPy arrays and basic linear equations. So hence, I actually have attached one more set of codes for you to run through. So these are all using all the different algorithms and putting the scores using machine learning. So these cells are up to you to execute them. Okay? So that's it for today's class.